Do you want to make this year your best year ever? Well, in that case, you will need a rock-solid plan to ensure that your New Year's resolution sticks. Guaranteed. Because we all know how it goes. The new year comes around, you get all pumped up and committed to making serious changes, but then after a couple of weeks, maybe a month or two, you're back in the exact same spot where you started. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down the 3 biggest things that you can do to make it inevitable that you stick to your New Year's resolution like glue from January all the way through December. Hi, I'm Mark Kweppett, and for more than a decade now, I've been a professional men's habit and performance coach, and I've been helping guys eliminate even their most hard-stuck, bad habits, get productive, and unleash their potential in life. And in order for you to make your New Year's resolution into a reality, we're going to have to tackle the 3 big resolution killers. These are the things that are most likely to cause you to abandon your yearly commitment and leave you falling back into the same old self-limiting patterns. And these are, number 1, forgetting. Number 2, easy failure. And number 3, inflexibility. I'm going to be walking you through how these problems make you unplug from your goal, and I'm going to show you exactly how to fix them. So we'll start things off here with the most obvious issue, simply forgetting your resolution in the first place. You see, it's easy to think about your New Year's resolution at the new year because, well, it's the new year and your mind naturally goes to new beginnings and the people around you are talking about their New Year's resolutions. You know, there's New Year's parties. Basically, your mind's like, New Year's, wow, resolution time, right? But once you get into the 2nd or 3rd week in January, pretty much all that talk and attention disappears and it won't be so top of mind. And when your resolution is not top of mind, it's very easy to just fall back into your default comfortable pattern. Anyone who's a regular gym goer sees this in extreme detail. In the beginning of January, you know, the gyms, they're always packed to capacity. But then by the time February rolls around, it's fallen off substantially. And by March, it's pretty much back to normal. So how do we fix this so you don't forget your goal? Well, remember how we said it's easy to think about your New Year's resolution at New Year's? Well, that's because your environment is cueing you to think about it. Basically, you don't need to think about it on your own. Your circumstances are bringing it to your attention automatically through the holiday season. So all we need to do to fix this forgetting problem is take this cueing principle and find a way to extend it past the holidays. If we do this, you'll be able to get constant reinforcement from your environment. So how can we do that? Well, one way is to modify your environment or circumstances to force you to comply. This is the most extreme method, but probably the most effective if you can pull it off. So for example, if you throw away your smartphone and computer and switch to a flip phone, it's going to be pretty easy to avoid internet scrolling. If you sell your car and are forced to walk or ride your bike, then you're going to have to get some exercise in or be stuck in your house. But often, you know, this is unreasonable or simply infeasible for many of us. And a gentler approach would be to use internet blocking software or to keep your bike in good condition and right by the door so you can't forget about it. You got to walk by it every single time you go out the door. But some habits don't lend themselves well to this sort of strategy, and it can be difficult to pull this off. And this is where a more social level of accountability is best. This is where making an accountability pact with a friend can be really great. And this works probably best if you've got like a shared goal. So for example, if you're both trying to get in shape and you commit to texting each other daily weigh-ins and you're sending each other your lifting progress and stuff like that. But I've even seen this work when you've got separate goals too. But the core idea is that when there is a set expectation of accountability, it makes it so that this cueing, this keeping your goal top of mind responsibility, it's a shared thing. It's something that's not all on just your own shoulders to keep up with. And when there's 2 or more of you working on it, it makes it a lot easier. Now, the problem with this accountability buddy approach is that it's only really as useful as your friend or group is committed. And it assumes that you've got a friend you're comfortable sharing your goals with in the first place. I mean, if your friend falls off, well, then it doesn't really help you much, does it? And if you're in a group with people who are constantly failing or not pumping you up properly, well, then that's also not going to be very useful. This is where getting some kind of coaching or joining some kind of professionally run program can be the best option. So, for example, if you joined our Frontline Man program, we do daily unique journaling prompts. We do weekly calls and we send out emails and reminders regularly so that you're always getting cued back into what you want to accomplish most. Speaking of Frontline Man, we are currently running a special New Year's cohort designed to help men eliminate their bad habits, build good ones, and get locked into a lifestyle of high performance. We are cutting enrollment off this Friday though, so if you're interested, make sure you click the link in the description for more info. But now let's move on to the next big issue that kills resolutions, and that is that they are often way too easy to fail. You see, most New Year's resolutions tend to have high importance but low urgency, meaning that you stand to gain a ton from them, but there's little immediate downside to abandoning them. So for example, if your goal is to get way more productive, yeah, you could dramatically transform your career and financial opportunities, and that would be awesome. But if you spend a few days procrastinating, scrolling the internet, and playing video games, nothing bad is going to immediately happen to you. And once you allow those sort of things to occur, it tends to just spiral downward very quickly. The reason this happens is because your emotional mind, the big fat limbic part of your brain that controls your neurochemicals of motivation, is mostly motivated by short-term consequences. But once you understand this, you can account for that part of your psychology. And you do this by getting skin in the game. You set up stakes and immediate consequences for inaction on your goal. And doing this makes quitting immediately cost you something, which really improves your likelihood of following through. Now, this particular issue can be a little tricky to solve on your own because what are you going to do? Promise to punish yourself if you fail? Personally, I don't like the sound of that, and plenty of guys are way too hard on themselves in the first place. And guys who say, well, I'm just going to focus on the reward, well, there's a bit of an issue with that too, which I'll get to in a second. But a common solution to try and force yourself to take action is to invest in something like getting a coach, a trainer, a program, or buying some kind of expensive equipment. And the idea is that if you spend all this money, surely you wouldn't let that investment go to waste. And, the reality is sometimes this absolutely works. But if you look at the secondhand markets for just about anything from musical equipment to exercise gear, etc., you can always find tons of stuff that was bought in this exact mindset that's for sale and has basically been unused. A lot of times it's not even been opened. You see, another psychological quirk of ours is that once you've made the investment, it tends to start losing motivational power over you unless you quickly build a strong habit around using it. So obviously you want to focus on building that immediate habit. But how can you get yourself to power through this initial habit adaptation period? If you've come up with any good ideas yourself, I would love to hear about them below. But let me explain how we've tackled this issue at Frontline Man to jumpstart your thinking. So if you were to sign up for a 28-day cohort that we're running right now, well, then you would put an initial amount of money down, but then you would get all of that money back if you actually do the program and then you get on a call with us at the end to tell us about your experience. And if you don't do the 2-ish hours per week required, then you're disqualified from the refund. Basically what we found is that fear of losing your money helps people overcome that lower level impulse to sabotage their intentions and abandon ship early. This takes advantage of the psychological principle known as loss aversion, where people are more emotionally compelled to avoid losing something than they are to gain something. And, I don't necessarily love what that says about human nature, but, you got to work with what you have. Since implementing this money-back skin in the game system, we've seen insane completion rates and incredible results for the guys in our cohorts. And I think this is honestly pretty special for the self-improvement niche because it's really common practice here for people to buy a program and never really use it. Heck, maybe you've experienced that yourself before. I know I have, and it's not a fun thing to see yourself just throw money away. But we've had many guys that, due to this setup, it's the first time that they have ever actually completed a program that they bought. The best part is that this program actually trains you in the habit and builds that habit during the 28-day period, which then makes it 10 times easier to continue sustainably, which is pretty cool in my opinion. And this brings us to our third and final resolution killer, inflexibility. You see, the problem with goal setting is that you're often working with unknown unknowns. Basically, you aren't necessarily aware of everything involved in a goal, how hard it will be, or how even your desires might shift as you move forward. In my experience of coaching so many guys over the years, I found that there's this major tendency to abort your goals as soon as things stop going the way you think they will, or maybe unexpectedly, something starts to feel off. So for example, maybe you decide to start getting up at 5 a.m. to do a highly productive morning routine. But after a few days, you realize, oh crap, that means that I'm going to have to lose out with spending time with my wife in the evening, or I'm going to end up being super tired. Or alternatively, maybe you commit to learning guitar, but after a few weeks, you realize, I don't actually even like playing guitar. I don't care about this. Or maybe you commit to cutting out video games only to realize that without games, you actually have zero idea what to do with your downtime and you're just bored and go crazy and you feel like you don't know what the heck to do. For most guys, situations like this tend to spell game over and they just fall back into their old patterns. And this is why you need to approach your goals with a mindset of not inflexibility, but iteration. You need to constantly update your goals based upon the feedback of your experiences so that they are always resonant, compelling, and exciting. All right, and this will let your goal evolve to maintain emotional and psychological alignment. Basically, as soon as your goal stops feeling like something you want, you need to either modify the goal or switch goals to do something you do want. Because a lot of guys, they get stuck in this mindset that once they set a goal, they have to follow that goal to the letter for a whole year or 90 days. But the reality is that there's nothing wrong with abandoning a goal if it's not the right goal. And on the self-improvement journey, it's really about going on this exciting process of trial and adjustment until you're locked into your unique path to fulfillment. So the key is that you must constantly check in with yourself, adjust, and iterate your goals. But figuring out how to do this in an organized and consistent fashion can be a little hard. And that's why at Frontline Man, our whole system is designed from the ground up to help you install a flexible method of reflection and refocusing so you can absorb the bumps and immediately course correct. And obviously, it also includes the cueing and the skin in the game designed to make sure that you actually do that adjustment work. But regardless of how you do it, if you can make this iterative approach to pursuing your goals second nature, literally nothing can stop you because you'll always be ready to attack your goals in a way that actually clicks with you from the inside out. So at this point, I hope you've gained some strong insight on how to make the accomplishment of your New Year's resolution inevitable. And if you're a guy and your New Year's resolution involves habit change, then I would love to invite you to join our 28-day New Year's Cohort, where I'll personally coach you through the proven method that has helped hundreds of guys ditch their worst habits and install rock-solid life discipline. And like I said, if you invest the reasonable amount of time to do the work and talk with us at the end about your experience, you can get all your money back, or you could choose to double down and continue working with us to keep the awesome progress flowing. So if you're interested, just click the link in the description. But heads up, this offer ends Friday, so don't miss out. See you guys on the front lines, and Happy New Year.